Janice here, Caribbean Garden Life. Now, I've realised that I haven't done an update in quite a while, a garden update, and there has been a lot happening in the garden. As you know, on the previous videos, if you haven't watched it, I cleared the coconut graveyard, so that has now been commandeered as more space for bags of sweet potatoes. I have some normal, ordinary potatoes, they're called Irish potatoes. I still have my swimming pool, my little paddling pool with lots of stuff in. And I built, as you know, a new holder rack for my seedlings. Now I need to empty these out a bit. We had a bit of a rain downfall last night. But this is where I house my seedlings now. And right now I have some 5-colour Swiss chard, some kohlrabi. I've got some broccoli rabe coming through. Corn is coming on really, really well. I'm really happy with the germination rate of that corn. And I'm trying some new basil, lime flavoured lime basil. I had great success with the lemon basil, so I'm really looking forward to how that comes out. And then we've got some thyme that needs up potting. I've also started doing some English thyme. I love my herbs, basically. I love my herbs, some English thyme as well. And there's some peppers. Now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of peppers down here. But to be honest, the germination rates of some of the seeds that I purchased last year haven't been good at all. So this is my second attempt with some of these pepper seeds, and they just didn't germinate. So I think what I'm going to do is give them 1/3 shot to use all the seeds I have available and just get rid. However, I've got some shishito peppers that I had never grown before, and I've got some called yellow Munster that are coming up, so I'm really, really pleased with those. So coming to another part of the garden, we've just had the coconuts come down, just had a harvest of coconuts, so they're sitting there now. I'm looking forward to my jelly later. But under the covers here is my squashes. Again, you know I have a love-hate relationship with squashes, but I got a little overzealous and planted quite a few squash seeds. So in the corner just there, I've got the pumpkin taking off. I'm going to give that a cover, try and protect it from the squash bugs as much as possible. Underneath the covers, I have some butternut squash. I have, if I remember rightly, some summer squash, and I think a delicata squash under here. So we're going to be eating a lot of squash, and I'll take you where the other squashes are right now. Here we have, as I said, my love affair with lemon basil. This is probably my my nursery where I try to recover what plants I can. The lemon basil's doing really well. I've got some kohlrabi quite there that needs to harvest. That is definitely ready to harvest. My first time growing kohlrabi. I've had a bit of a hit and miss with it, but it's going really well in that pot. So I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pick the kohlrabi today, because that's about the right size, tennis ball size, about the right size to eat it. I think you can use it in salads, what was my research was telling me, but I'm going to have attempted it anyway. And this one is a little planted at the same time, but a little bit behind as well. So that's this side. Okay, so I'm going to apologise for the mess right now. The garden is a work in progress. I've been doing a lot of work in the garden itself. Just over here, I've done a video will be coming up in a couple of weeks where I tried my hand at soil solarization. I managed to get some new topsoil, but I didn't want to put it straight in the garden without doing some sort of treatment. So it's been sitting there for about 6 weeks now, and I have used some and it's come out really well. The fig that was really struggling, is really catching itself now. It hasn't started fruiting yet. We have another one in the main garden which has started fruiting, but this is doing so well. I know it's literally just a matter of time. There's nothing there available, nothing on there right now. This so far is the bag of compost, sifted compost that I just got out. I am upping my compost game, and I'll show you what I'm doing to up my composting efforts. But let me take you through the rest of the garden. The one thing I've realised is that the ground here, the soil here, isn't very good, isn't conducive for vegetables. So I've spent some time really focused on my grow bags, so they grow really well. As you can see, I'd planted these okra in the ground at the same time as I planted those in the grow bag. The ground just really wasn't working for them where they were, so I've transferred them to bags, hoping they'll catch themselves. These ones, however, I've got volunteered standing spinach in there, you know, callaloo, and I've got some real nice okra coming through. My fresh salad is doing really well. That needs a cutting today, so we'll get some fresh salad greens. Really simple, really easy to grow. Eggplants, peppers. The blackberry bush that I bought, or the blackberry cane I bought, when did I buy this? Probably at the earlier beginning of the year. That's coming along really well. I'm not seeing any fruiting, but it is growing. It's my first time growing blackberry canes, so I'm going to try my hand at that and see what happens there. Under the shade cloth, as I said, this was all beds. This was all in-ground beds, and as I said, I wasn't getting any of the real results. But my focus this year was to really up the food production in the garden. So I've literally converted this, as you see, to a grow bag garden. I got a chipper quite recently. So as you can see, the results of all the chipper, because I was cutting the hedges down, nothing went to waste. It's gone in composting, and I'm also using it as ground cover. Underneath here is cardboard. I'm going to see if I can actually bring the soil back, replenish the soil over the next few years, because, you know, all's not lost, but right now it's not delivering what it should be delivering. So under my shade cloth, I've got tomatoes, I've got Swiss chard, I've got some herbs. What I am noticing the tomatoes though is I think I have some fusarium wilt in the soil, because this is the second time now for this second season where I have planted tomatoes and they've literally withered. They've just withered and died. So now I'm aware of that. There's one or two things. I'm going to see if I can sterilise the soil, do soil sterilisation before I use it again. Or the second thing is to get some fusarium wilt resistant tomato seeds, and I'm going to try both, you know, because by the time the seeds get here it's going to be a while anyway, so I'm going to research that to see how that works. So I haven't totally given up in ground gardening, haven't totally given it up. This bed here was where I had some sweet potatoes, and I only planted them because I had some spare slips. But the harvest I got this was really pitiful. I mean, literally could fit all in my hand. It looked very impressive above the ground, but it wasn't working. Okra I know grows very well, and I'm going to use the compost I've got so far, try and bulk up the soil, try and feed it, give it some more nutrients, and then try okra, because okra is used to really harsh conditions. And this is not a bad spot, gets plenty of sun, got a little bit of shade. It also gets the rain. But the cassava's doing well over here, at least the plant is. We won't get to see what that looks like till probably later on this year, because it takes up to about 12 months for cassava to really come into its own. And like I said, I've always shared with you my love-hate relationship. So I built this netted, I had an option of obviously covering all the plants with netting, but I thought, let me just build something I can actually contain all the plants I want to do. So I've gone a bit crazy with the squash planting and trying which squash would work for me. Had the seeds, so let me just have a look and share with you my squash efforts, what's happening right now with the squash. Again, you can see all the shredding. I had the shredder, it's been hard at work. This got a little bit muddy, so it saves the muddiness or the dirtiness, the mess underfoot. So in my squash cavern is probably the best way to describe it. I'm trying my hand at acorn squash. My second attempt at zucchini, these are doing really well. I tried the first time and I got one zucchini, but they're supposed to be more prolific, so I felt a little bit disappointed, but I've tried my hand again. I'm just going to be more protective with them and keep a closer eye on them. So that is zucchini. Then I have a delicata squash. It got a little damage when it was transplanting, but the second one next to it, I planted two of everything, just so I've got the chance to hand pollinate, because it's under under the netting. Pollination won't be so easy, so I'm going to be hand pollinating all of these. And then I have some summer squash. Squashes are all very quick growing. These are all summer squashes, as you know, and the acorn is more of a winter squash, so that can actually store a lot better. And then I have some, like I said, rescued tomatoes. The best way, because I had a devil's job this year with spider mites. So these are the ones that I've managed to cut back and try to recover. I'm going to keep an eye on them. They're starting to flower now, so who knows? You know, never say die when it comes to that. The one thing we get in this garden is a lot of debris, a lot of natural debris, and it's been a devil's own job just keeping on top of it. I compost, but I also knew I didn't have a lot of compost, enough compost to really replenish the garden the way I wanted to do. So I set myself the target. As I said, I want to increase the food volume that I grow, but I also want to up my composting efforts. And the little, the barrel compost I had, the one I normally use, is very, very good, but it just didn't also handle, I couldn't get rid of all the garden debris. So I built myself a outdoor composter. I got the materials free of charge, or the pallets free of charge, which were fairly easy to come by. And with the shredder, which I will do a video, you'll see a video about that, the shredder, I've managed to shred most of the trees, and I've been putting my composting debris, the debris that I want to compost, into the composter. It's been a couple of weeks. It's starting to take shape. I need to give it another turn, plenty of water, make sure I get the layers right, so lots of layers brown and green to make sure I get the benefit. But I'm really optimistic I'm going to get a nice, decent bit of compost out of this bed. There's lots of, as you can see when you look around the garden, there's lots of materials that I can use. The biggest challenge I think I had was actually breaking it down small enough so I can actually get the compost quicker. I did make an attempt when I cut the trees down probably about 1.5 years ago of composting, but if you look over to where they were, then the results weren't very good. It's just a pile of twigs. So I'm going to look at how I can break that down further. It can't go through the shredder because it's partly decomposed but not fully decomposed. So again, another trick for me this weekend probably is to look at how I can break that down. Either put it in the composter, or break it down further and see what's available. So yeah, so that's from a veggie garden perspective. From the rest of the main garden, so that was most of the vegetable garden, but the main garden, it's been very, very, very dry here. We're having, again, the driest season, I think, since 1928. We were never very good when it comes to water in the first place, hence why we take so many actions to conserve water. So the fruit trees we have in the garden, they're also suffering. The breadfruits, she's bearing, and yes, she's a she's bearing, but she keeps losing the fruit before they're fully ripe. I don't know if there's any way we can use or haven't found any way, should I say, there probably is a way, how to use windfall breadfruit. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I'm more than open to them. We have a cherimoya or custard apple tree next to it. Now it's leaned because this side of the garden, we didn't know, we were garden novices. This side of the garden gets the wind comes from that direction. So anything planted along this side of the fence is prey to the wind. So hence why this tree leans. And if you saw the cassava earlier, you'll notice that they also lean as well because of the constant wind pressure we have out here. So, but this is now starting to flower. Or starting to bud. So we're hoping to get some fruit off it because we've spotted the odd fruit, but we never knew it was there, and we don't know when it's ready. So we're going to keep an eye on this for this season. The cherry tree is just starting to blossom. Really just starting to blossom. It's very lucky because I was going to come out here with my chainsaw and start cutting it back because not only is it blossoming and growing a lot wider, we've also got some, I call them Tarzan vines because they're very, very thick, but some Tarzan vines, the tree that really needs to come out. This year we had a bit of a surprise because we have had this bitter orange. It's probably about a bitter orange tree for coming up to 10 years, And this is the first time it ever fruited, or properly fruited. I think it fruited once before, but this year it gave us an abundance of fruit. But imagine my disappointment when you can't eat it. It is incredibly sour. Some people say, you can juice it and put sugar in, but the amount of sugar you need to put into it to make it palatable kind of defeats the object. So I'm still researching what we can do with this. It was very productive. Still got a few oranges left, few oranges or lemons, bitter orange left on it. That just came off my hand. But yeah, we're going to see what we can do with that. So let me take you across the rest of the garden. So we're coming up to the avocado. This is Derek's pride and joy, but he's not been happy. It's growing, it's definitely growing, but it's not fruiting. So I think we need to do a lot more research into what we do with the avocado, how we get the avocado to fruit. We think we've missed the season now for flowers and things, but we're going to have a look at it. Maybe it needs a trim, maybe it needs more food. We're going to have a look at what we need to do and get more knowledgeable on what it takes to have an avocado tree. A lot of stuff I've seen says you need to have two, but I've also seen lots of gardens in people's gardens where they only have the one. So, and I think this is of the same species, so I don't think we need to have two trees. In fact, we really couldn't manage two trees in here. We're already dealing with a lot of stuff as it is, but that's the avocado. So next we are going over to the pomegranate. The pomegranate has been very fruitful. Again, it's a tricky fruit to eat if you're not used to eating it, so we tend to juice it. I juice it with passion fruit, so that makes a really nice combination of fruit juice. But yeah, it's been very productive. We've got more flowers, more fruits coming out. And we have to try and get it before it splits, because this is split. And then once it splits, you can see the birds get into it. So that really is a bust. The next fruit tree we have, let's have a look at this one. This is papaya or pawpaw. And I think we're actually going to we've seen it flower, we've watched it flower, but we've never actually got any fruit off it. So I think this year may be the year. Now, I'm not a big fan, to be honest. It was a gift, remember, it was a gifted tree. So we've planted it and to see what we get. People eat them green. Maybe it's better green. I've never really liked them as a fruit, as a ripe fruit personally. But it's an experiment to see how it grows. Next here, God, there's this tree. It's been through the wars. It's a June plum. Again, it doesn't hold. I'm not quite sure what it is. What we have to do to this. Maybe do some more research. It's got a couple of fruits on the end. We think it's a June plum. It keeps growing, but it doesn't give us fruit yet. It's never given us fruit. So again, more research needed. This is all a learning process. That's a good thing about gardening. So we're coming up to the last few trees. We're coming up to the last few trees. So last couple of trees is we have the mango tree. Now I want you to look very closely on here, because the tree flowered and we were very upset because we saw the tree flower and we're thinking, where are all the mangoes? And I think, again, it was very windy, and I think a lot of the wind blew the fruit off. We've got one fruit on here which is coming on, but the big surprise is that on the other side of the tree, which actually overhangs our neighbour's garden, is where the proliferation of mangoes are. So luckily we have a great relationship with him. So we'll be picking mangoes once they start fruiting. I can see they're starting to drop, but yeah, he's done a job of actually propping up the branch that has all the mangoes, because all the mangoes literally are on his side of the garden. So we're looking forward to mango season. We can go across pick a few, lots of chutney and jams will be the call once it fruits. And the last but one, it's probably the last but one because I thought we'd almost finished, is the ackee. Again, I think there's something to do with I think it really has something to do with the wind, because when you look at it, we had fruit, we had flowers, but again, all the fruit is just hanging over this side of the garden. So we will get some ackee. We will get some ackee this year, but it won't be as abundant as it has been in the past. And to be honest, the other thing is we also have to keep fighting the dogs, because they also seem to like all the fruit in the garden. So we have to be a little bit more, we have to be quicker, much quicker at getting the fruit once it comes in ripe. So the last tree I want to take you through, once we fight through the ackee jungle. Oh, I got an ant. Oops. Is there ackee on that? No, there's not ackee on that. I think I stepped in an ant's nest. That's the other perils of being, in fact, it's not one tree. It's probably 3 trees. Stepped in an ant's nest. So this is the custard apple. Again, something struck it down, but it is starting to flower. It is starting to green back up again. Get some more leaves. I don't expect to see this to fruit till later in the year, but it's good to see that it's springing back. Now I'm itching a little bit because I stepped in an ant's nest. I've got a couple of ant bites. So yeah. So the next 2 trees, the last couple of trees, and I keep saying the last couple of trees, and I remember we have one more. I shared with you that we had another fig tree. This is the second fig, and it's not the original fig. It's probably our third attempt at growing a fig here. But this is, and we managed to protect it from the dogs. But this is starting to fruit, which is great news. You can see here, got some great fruit on there. We'll soon be eating figs. Got a little bit of rust on it. I need to keep an eye on it. But it's actually starting to fruit, as small as it is. Probably get a little bit of fertilization, and keep an eye on it. And the final walkthrough, the final is our very hardy, very fast growing, very tenacious passion fruit vine. This, everybody, from here, as you can see, from all the way across here, it's got to be about 20 foot, if not more, 20 foot of passion fruit vine. And again, it's kind of overtaken everything, but we're reluctant to take it down just yet because it's actually full of passion fruit. So we're going to be waiting for it to finish fruiting, get the fruit, and we'll start cutting it back. It's just been managing it because it is very unruly. It's one vine. I think they last about 5 to 7 years, but you can see here we've got some great fruit set coming through. So we're really looking forward to it, and they're very, very sweet. They're not ready until they start to turn yellow. So we've got a little ways to go yet. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. So that is the May garden update. If you like what you've seen, don't forget to subscribe so you get when the bell dings or whatever it is, so you can get the next video. But tell us what you're growing in your garden, or any tips you can advise to as what we should grow next in the Caribbean garden. Take care until next time. Happy gardening.